when we die, that's all we have to take really is our memories. And it's so true. We're not going to be able to take our stuff. Stuff's not going to matter. But in our years, maybe where we can't do as much, we have our memories. And if we've had lots of experiences and done things and used our time well and, had experiences with our families and our friends, that we really carry this with us into the years where we maybe can't be as active. And it really shapes our identity and also brings us joy and perspective and meaning. Welcome to The Way of the Muse, a podcast for women who want to create richness in every area of their lives, from business and career to lifestyle, relationships, family, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm Gigi Sage.
And I'm McKenna Sage. We're a mother-daughter coaching team, and combined, we've spent over 4 decades helping people create their best and most fully expressed lives. If you're ready to step into your bigger dreams with ease, fun, and flow, you're in the right place. Let's get into the episode.
Hello, friends, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be diving into something that I know many of us crave, and it's just not more freedom, but a life that actually feels like us, right? A lifestyle that actually reflects our passions and also our deepest desires. And honestly, for me, that lifestyle has always included travel. And those of you who know me well know that. And it's not just vacations. I mean, really, really going on travel adventures. And I'm talking about like these soul opening, deeply, really connected experiences. And I love going to places that I've never been to and to meet people that are new and interesting. And the great thing about my life is that I was able to incorporate that with my work. And that's the place where I really come alive. I've spent 40 years doing it and will do it probably until I can't do it any longer. I can't get on a plane any longer. And so for me, that's so much been part of my lifestyle. So for you, I want to ask you a few questions just to start thinking, because I'm going to share in this podcast today that the way that I've, kind of created my lifestyle. And of course, as we've talked about on other podcasts, there's different seasons in life. So we have different ways we create our lifestyle in the different times in our life, right? So one question to start asking yourself as we're going through this is, what do I really, really want? And so importantly is, how do I want to live? What is that perfect lifestyle for me? Yeah. And the truth is, we all have this lifestyle living inside of us. It's somehow, if you're not fully immersed in yours, it's like a vision, it's a dream, it's something sitting inside of us. It's feeling like there is actually this rhythm that fits who we are. But what happens that I find in working with, tens of thousands of people over my career, I often find that we often try to silence that because we convince ourselves maybe it's too much or it's impractical. Often I hear from people it's selfish, which, I think it's more selfish not to go for what you want. But the truth is, your dream lifestyle is your dream for a reason. It's something that's in you, and it's trying to show you something. It's trying to push you into the life you're supposed to be living, the way you're supposed to be living, the place that is in alignment for you. So as we go through here, I'm going to share just some different kinds of lifestyles, and maybe one of them, you get bits and pieces from several of them, or one of them really you go, oh, I like that one. And you'd like to work more on that one. So first one is the adventurer lifestyle. And that is driven by movement. It's discovery. It's when you really use your curiosity, right? And it's kind of that thrill of the unknown. And it's for the person who, they always have that bag half packed. I think that's me. And some dream of trekking, like through Patagonia. They dream of hiking and they climbing mountains. Living out of a van. That's not me. Those aren't me. But that person that's more nature focused, and they feel more at home in nature. Now, again, whatever lifestyles we're talking about here, you can absolutely take pieces of different ones and create your own, right? Then there would be like the cultural traveler, and that's not just about movement, but it's also somebody that really meaning is important to them, and they want to maybe live in Paris for 3 months and study the Japanese tea ceremony in Kyoto. I'd like to do that one too, actually, and learn Italian by living in a Tuscan village. And it's travel, but the depth and education is what they really, really long for. Um, so you can see just from those two examples, you can start to really think about what's something for you that you really, really would love to incorporate into your life and your lifestyle. So for me, that dream has always involved travel and having kind of unusual experiences. I've had a lot of different experiences in my life. I can feel myself lighting up as I talk about it. Also meeting interesting people and having clients that I work with and friendships from around the world. And that has been fun for me. I even went and lived in Europe for 5 years in Amsterdam, and it was really, in many ways that life and that lifestyle resonated so deeply with me. So, so deeply. It's always hard for me in the US because I love that access to a city, the foot traffic and the not having to get in a car and riding my bicycle everywhere. But again, there's different seasons in our lives and there's times when we change. I've been getting on planes though since goodness gracious, 1980 something, early in the 80s. And I've been flying, for my business for 40 years now. And, like I said earlier in the podcast, I will probably do it until I just cannot do it anymore. And when that day comes, I always say, hopefully I get myself a dog, and that dog's then going to walk me. And I'm going to create a completely different lifestyle. So again, that will be a different season in my life. And so with you, again, it's so important to start to see what are the elements of things that you love. And sometimes you see that through people that you respect or people that, sometimes we see it through celebrities and we think, oh my gosh, I'd love to live their life. And often people think that, oh, I can't do that. I think one of the main things that people tell me is they want to travel. And I hear that more often than anything. And so often I've heard from people, well, but it's just so expensive. And yes, it can be very expensive if you're going to fly first class and stay in a 5-star hotel every time. And if you don't have the means to do that, and then that's crazy, then travel is going to feel like you can't do it. But there are so many different ways to travel. Often I love through the years going to cities, and often for many years, people would bring me in to a city, let's say Munich, Germany, which is one place that I've done so much of my work and have a lot of friendships and clients there through my career. And through the years, I would stay with different people because people would introduce me to someone, or if I was leading a workshop, someone would invite me into their home to stay there. And so in that, you see, I'm not staying at a 5-star hotel. And honestly, a lot of times a coach ticket over to Europe, and especially back in the day, was, it can be almost less expensive than it is to fly around the US. And I think people just don't think like that. They think of travel in this way of vacationing. And for me, honestly, probably I should have settled down more through my years. And some of my kids will definitely say so. But by design, I actually early on chose this life of traveling and working in places that I'd love to vacation to, actually. So now it's your turn, and I want to just give you some questions to start asking yourself what really inspires you. I'm inspired by going to very new and different places and not staying in the nicest hotel and in a resort the whole time. That's not what I want to do. I want to experience it, and I want to get out and I want to feel the people and feel the culture and be part of the experience. And so that's really, really important for you to look at what inspires you. Maybe it is that you really love to go to, 5-star hotels. And I love a good 5-star hotel. Don't Don't get me wrong here, but it's just not the way I would choose to travel all the time. Another question is really, what do you stand for? What's important for you? And what kind of people do you want to be around? And how do you want to feel every day when you wake up? I think this is a really important one because that's a matter of really seeing like I said, Amsterdam really resonated with me because the water was there. I lived on a canal. I had the North Sea behind me. I was up in a penthouse. View was beautiful, and there was a beautiful view. And that was so, so important to me at that time in my life. And so you have to see for yourself. And what do you want life to look like? And then the most important thing is really, like I said, how do you want life to feel? Because here's the bottom line is you get to choose. You really get to design it. And I know many times for years people would ask me, how did you design this life back when my children were young? And we would travel with them to Europe and we would, they were homeschooled. So we would spend 3 months in Europe. We'd spend 2 months in Hawaii. And the other time we would spend in Austin, Texas. And people were shocked, like, how do you do that? And it didn't happen overnight. I'll tell you that much. It happened by design. It happened by planning. It happened by looking to see what is it that we wanted at that time? And then how could we create that with our life and what we were doing? And so with lifestyle, this is not something that's trendy. I want to say that. That's not something like the new phase, right? It's about really living that felt experience and having that time, that day-to-day life experience that you love, at least having aspects of it. And, another example of that could be like a very luxurious lifestyle, an elegant lifestyle. And this is someone who feels very alive, maybe in a gown or, walking into candlelit galas and sipping champagne with really purpose-driven people, staying at beautiful hotels, hosting dinner parties, and living life like it's an art. Again, when I talk about that one, I like that one too. And then there's this kind of more, I have some clients that it's more rooted. It's more like they want this home lifestyle, people who want to really stay in one place. They want to live more slowly. They want to grow maybe their own food, even have chickens in the yard and wake up to, being in an environment in the mountains or somewhere where they watch the sunrise. They're very close to nature and they're very grounded and it's nourishing and they're very much into their spirituality. You see again how that's a very different kind of lifestyle. And it's really about, like I said, how you wake up in the morning, what you see, what you hear, and then also really, what do you want to wear? Do you want to walk barefoot in the grass with your coffee, or do you want to sit in a cafe in a busy city? I remember a woman that I worked with a long time ago, but I remember it so distinctly because she changed her lifestyle so much. So through her earlier years and working and building her career, she was a city girl. She lived in the city her whole life in terms of, except for when she was a child. And she was super successful, very business driven, but when she decided to have kids, which was much later in life, she actually went out and found some land and bought a piece of land and started building a home, having her kids. And she did this and completely changed her life. She stayed there and still lives there to the day. And really, her kids have grown up in the country. And that's where she took her life. So she completely changed her lifestyle. And the most wonderful thing about our lives these days is we have the opportunity. We can change things, right? We can shift around. And she had originally grown up on a farm. So in many ways, she went back to her roots. So don't get something in your mind like you say you can't do. If it's something that you're longing for and it's in you, then it's possible. And so we often, will stop ourselves, but the truth is, if you ask yourself, what does my soul want now? What is it longing for now? And also, what season am I in? Do I have the flexibility to move to the country or move to Paris, or do I have the flexibility to change everything that I've, been doing? And sometimes this can happen gradually, right? What kind of life will actually help me grow? That's for me very much because my path has been about growth and learning. And that's why I love travel so much, because when I travel, I bring home those experiences from the people that I meet and from the culture. And that's something, I felt like the way I like to travel was so different. And then I happened to pick up this book, and this author made a really great distinction. So there's a passage I'll read you. It's from a book called Why Travel Matters by Craig Storty. And for me, this says it's perfectly. It says, tourism is largely to escape from, whereas true travel is arriving at. Tourism is mainly recreational, while travel is primarily educational. Tourists want to relax. Travelers want to be stimulated. The goal of tourism is to see the sights, and the goal of travel is to add to understanding. And that distinction is everything. Travel for me is not about escaping. It's, like I said, not about being entertained. It's about learning. I always learn so much, and it makes me expand. I always say I become a better person when I travel, when I have these experiences. And he makes the distinction also that real travel is not in your own country. It is going to a foreign country. It's setting yourself up in such a way where you're uncomfortable, where you have to experience this different culture, and in many ways sometimes be really humbled when you go around the world and you see sometimes the way other people live, and you just see how much that we have, and just how grateful I am for, the way I live and the food I eat and everything. And not that I go to other cultures and pity them. I go with complete respect, because so much of the time I learn from them, and I learn so much about the way they live and the food and their simplicity. And it just makes me into such just a person with more depth. Now, if you just love, like I said, the more tourism way, then that's completely fine. Again, that's a choice. So travel brings me home to myself, because I come back really, really changed. So I also, a couple more ideas about lifestyles could be like a creative studio lifestyle, where someone really, their life is around their art. We must all know people like that. They might have a loft and canvases all over the place, and books or photography, and their days are spent really expressing themselves and making art. Or it could be more, like I said, a spiritual or a sacred lifestyle, where everything's built around healing and stillness. And, think about, when you go to Bali and you go to all the temples, there's so many temples, right? Morning meditations, yoga retreats, deep spiritual studies, and creating maybe a home that really is this peaceful sanctuary. So out of all those examples, you probably, hear some that sound interesting to you. And another thing I'd just like to point out with mine in terms of lifestyle, because I have so many clients that have asked me through the years, how did I travel so much with my kids, and how do you do that, and what's a good way to do that? And I love sharing this with people that when you're going want to travel with your kids, you can make travel part of your family culture. So you choose a destination together, and then what you can do is you give each child a role if they're old enough, and they can be 5 and have a role, right? And so someone researches about the food, maybe another about the history, another one looks into the adventures in the place. And so suddenly what happens is, when you have everybody participating in the family, it's no longer about a vacation. It's about this co-creative experience. And your kids just aren't entertained. They're actually involved, and they're already so interested, and they're growing, they're learning. and they're seeing how to connect with the world. And this is so incredibly powerful. This is a way for you to have, instead of vacations with your kids, to have these experiences where they get to learn about the lifestyles, the education, how kids live in this other country, what they experience. And so you don't have bored kids coming with you. You have something that is much more creative and fun. And that's a little bit off topic, but I think it's so important because you can incorporate this into your lifestyle, so you could have a family freedom lifestyle, designed around quality time maybe, and conscious parenting, travel with your kids, and education through real life. And think of homeschooling on the road, which we did, and living abroad as a family. Like I said, we lived in Amsterdam and also in Germany often for several months, because at that time we really wanted to be able to travel with our children, and not just travel, because there was a lot of travel in my career and my work, not just to travel over those trips, me go, come back, and my kids stay at home, but to go long enough to where it really made sense to rent a place for the month, experience the life. Some of my kids would tell you, remember Mariah learned to ride bicycles in Amsterdam and Vondel Park, and we all as a family were on bikes all the time. Just so many fun things. And, the other thing I was reading recently was this book, Die with Zero. I don't have the author's name here, but it's Die with Zero. And one thing that stuck with me is how he constantly talks about experiences. And I have to tell you, I'm an experience junkie, and that is part of my lifestyle choice, right? And bottom line is, he says this: when we die, that's all we have to take really is our memories. And it's so true. We're not going to be able to take our stuff's not going to matter, but in our years maybe where we can't do as much, we have our memories. And if we've had lots of experiences and done things and used our time well, and had experiences with our families and our friends, that we really carry this with us into the years where we maybe can't be as active. And it really shapes our identity and also brings us joy and perspective and meaning. So when you talk about designing a lifestyle, you really talk about also designing the memories you want to make, and thinking about what memories do you want to have, and memories, and how, again, what's the feelings that you want to feel later when you're thinking about those memories. So my invitation for you today is to really sit down and take a deep breath. Yeah. And ask yourself, like I said, what do you really, really want? Where do you want to live? What kind of mornings do you want? What kind of people do you want around you? What kind of experiences light up your soul? How do you want to feel every day? Because when you design your lifestyle from your heart, then everything else, I'm telling you, your business, your relationships, your purpose, you come alive in that, because you are putting some of you in there, and it may be that you want to wear silk robes every day, all day long. I was watching this, I guess it was 60s movie the other day, and McKenna and I were laughing because the mother was in these feathery silk robes every day, and we were laughing how fun that would be to have those, right? But again, that's a lifestyle choice. And designing your life doesn't mean you have to flip everything upside down, right? Tomorrow. It's not about burning everything, leaving your life, making some dramatic leap. It's about starting to be aware and reconnecting with the truth of what you really want. And as I said in the beginning of the podcast, is what is the lifestyle that sits in you? What's the life that you feel nudging at you, that you're supposed to be living, and maybe you've kind of lost yourself? And all that takes is adding one little piece at a time and doing things that start to bring that out in you. And it can be as simple as maybe you just start planning a short trip to somewhere you've always wanted to visit. And, maybe it's something that really, it's not just for fun, but it's something that, a place that really calls your spirit. Maybe it's to start creating a vision board. You can do that, or journaling your ideal day. If you don't know what your lifestyle is, that's what I would recommend, is just start journaling in it every day and just saying, if I could live any kind of life, what would I do? And just prompt yourself with little questions each day, and then write stream of consciousness. Don't edit yourself. And sometimes, doing something like booking a retreat, saying yes to an opportunity that maybe has been sitting out there and you've kind of been on the fence about. Every little choice you make begins to create your lifestyle. And here's a very interesting thing. If sometimes we feel like, oh, I want to do this and we want to do it forever, and this is the life I want. And the minute we allow ourselves to go and actually try it out, you may see it's not for you. That's the other really powerful thing about starting to explore your lifestyle. And what's powerful is that once you make aligned choices, it's going to ripple through every part of your life. I'm telling you, your creativity will come back, your business will become more magnetic, your relationships shift, and your nervous system will settle down the more that you have you and what's right for you in your life. As I said, for me, my lifestyle has been more about travel, and it's been about belonging on the road in a certain kind of way, and not just in a place, but to the world. And I've had that opportunity, and I'm so blessed to be able to travel so much. And as I said, to meet so many incredible people. So I always say I belong to the world, and I belong to not just my children, all children in the world. I really feel that if I can be in service to people around the world, that my contribution touches the lives of people everywhere. And when I touch a grown up, then I naturally will touch a child. Yeah, that's the truth that I live. And, I'm a bit of a gypsy. I think I say I carried that from my Czech heritage, from the roots in Moravia, and from that kind of gypsy soul, and the good kind of gypsy, the one that seeks and sees and brings people together, because that's really what I've done through my life and my career. And again, maybe that's not your path at all. Whatever your version is, you want to claim it. Claim the lifestyle that matches you, because the world really needs more people out there living their lives, not more people doing their checklist. And we need more people that are awake and in their purpose, because your contribution, when you do that, when you're living the right life for you, you make a contribution, even just by being a role model for people. So I want to give you a couple more lifestyles before I close. So one could be a kind of jet set entrepreneur. Maybe, she runs a business everywhere. She bounces between cities, works out of co-working spaces. And, one week she's in Lisbon, the other week in Cape Town. And she's always meeting new people, scaling her business. And she has this kind of flexibility style. She dresses really trendy. Another one could be like a community and connection lifestyle, and it's built around shared living and really intentional communities. You see more and more of that these days. Maybe a co-housing setup where you have regular dinner circles. It's all about belonging and being part of this community and supporting and having that collective growth. And you see this, what's the blue zones, right? If you've ever seen or heard about that, I'm sure it's really out there in the world now. He actually has a documentary series, The Man That Went and Studied all the blue zones around the world. And now it's fascinating because they're creating blue zones in the US. There's one that was created outside of, I think, Tucson in Arizona. So again, that's a choice of a lifestyle, because they're designed with community. They have different aspects, a certain way of eating, certain way of movement and everything, and people connecting together in this big community. So people chosen in these areas to live this lifestyle with other people. So those are a lot of different ideas. And So your takeaway from today is to really start asking those deeper questions and to be honest about what lights you up, and stop apologizing for your dreams. Start designing a life that really reflects your soul, because you deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. And more than that, like I said, the world needs you lit up, right? More lit up people are going to do better and better things and heal this world. So until we meet again, go live it, go dream it, go do it, and start your dream lifestyle now. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Please share this if you know someone who is feeling a little down, doesn't quite know what to do, and maybe this can be an inspiration for them. Thank you. Thank you.
That's our episode for today, but let's not make it the end of our love story. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and think of some women in your life you'd love to share it with. And if you want to learn more about our events and programs, visit wayofthemuse.com. See you next time.